Well, it was right around that time that I got hit. I was just, I was holding my rifle out of the water at the time, and the water was over my waist yet still at that time. And then once I got hit, that knocked me over backwards, and naturally I lost that. It was my rifle. I had my rifle, so that's the end of my rifle, and from there I floundered around for a period of time, and when I got something happened a little closer where I could see that, I thought my arm was going to fall off, that it was just about, was hardly there. And the blood was pouring out of there, that it looked like it wouldn't be long I'd have no more blood. So then anyway, you're kind of half in shock then, you know. So you're floundering along, trying to. The good part was that the wave was still throwing me forward towards shore, so that I was going to the shore towards, and that I kept going that way. Eventually, as I was floundering around, one of the fellows came to me, and he gave me a hand. Normally, your orders are to go to the beach, don't stop to be playing around with other things. So I never expected help at all because they had to go. But he did stop, and actually he took the tourniquets or whatever they were from me and himself and that there, and he tied my arm to my side and wrapped it some. And the big thing he did was he found my morphine and gave me a shot of morphine. And that took care of the shock end of it. You get the morphine, and then you're just you almost feel you don't care about anything. You just now the one thing I felt then, there's about all I can do is try to survive, and so I continued falling and rolling in with the tide. And I remember that it wasn't going to do me any good to stand up and try to crawl a little faster because I wasn't going to do anything anyway. So I had a tendency of practically swimming in because the machine gun fire was going over my head for one thing, and it was helping me to get to shore. I was sleeping or passed out or something for quite a few hours, I think. But eventually, somebody told me that there was an aid station up a little ways to the east. And my goal was to try to get up and get up there to get some help. I knew with all the loss of blood, they couldn't do much of anything. I was able to get up on my feet and try to walk on the beach, but the beach is too hard walking in the sand. A tank, that's the only tank I saw, came along, and as I was struggling there, the guys got out and they pulled me up on the tank. But as soon as they got me up and started going towards the aid station, the artillery came and they opened up the thing and they get off of that thing, so I slid down again. And I was near the hardtop road. Now it looks like they built it up a lot. The road wasn't near that high. I would have never been able to make it that high. But either the beach was higher then or something happened, because I was able to make it up to that road. And from that road, I was able to stagger down to where the aid station was. And I recall walking along there, staggering along there, figuring that, well, they wouldn't waste a shell on me anyway. So I knew I had to get help someplace or another, and fortunately I was able to get down to that aid station. Eventually, before dark, they took me by stretcher down around near where I was hit. They walked me quite a long ways, and there they put me on some kind of a little ship where they they would put a number of us in stretchers and took us out to an LST, and there they would rope us up to the ship where they could get us on the ship. And after I was on that ship, well, they put me upstairs in one of the bunks, and that was, I hadn't really had any, I had, well, I don't know, some morphine or something like that, but I hadn't had anything else. And with the loss of blood and that I was getting, where I didn't know what was what on anything. And I eventually, I guess I made enough noise or something that they took me away from there and brought me down to the bottom of that it's a tank carrying LST, and down there it's like a big football field and just a tin, you know, or metal or something, and there's stretchers all over the place. And I was down there, and eventually somebody put a cast on my arm, and they did give me blood transfusion. And that did miracles to me. The cast on the arm kept your bones and that from rubbing against you, so you didn't have the hurt from there, and the other end of it there, you just, so I was more comfortable there. I've been here a number of times, but it does something to you every time you come. It isn't a thing where you get used to there. It still has a very meaningful feeling to me. I don't know where the words are to describe it, but when you think of all the friends you lost, and 2 days ago I was up at the cemetery, and 8 of my friends that I lost that right here that day remained right here at the cemetery above the hill here. So I visited them, and again, each time you do that, you just you feel like you're with them again in a way. It just you knew some of their family history and that along the line, and you knew their relatives had to suffer through a lot of enduring tough times on that. I had one fellow by the name of Joe Daniels that died next to me, and he was a kind of a carefree person in that, but before he died, he was whimpering away about his mother. He just, as he died, that's what he was talking. He was thinking of his mother. And that's, I guess all of us, our family is always still the major thing. You're there, so that, but that, I never forgot that there, and he knew he was on his way out. Another fellow's name was Fred Smith. He's buried up on the hill there, and my good friend that was with him, the two of them, they made it up the bluff there, and Fred looked over the bluff, and he got hit right as soon as he looked over there, and that was the end of him. And he came from the Boston area, and he had a wife who was a nurse over there, and he was a nice, quiet type of individual. So I never forgot that either. That was so those kind of thoughts. While I'm here, I think of the fellows up there. There was another fellow named John Biddle, and he lived in Philadelphia, and he was my sergeant. And of all things, like he used to say, I'm Biddle from Philadelphia. Well, Philadelphia is a big banking center, and Biddles had a lot of money. Well, John wasn't one of them. But he would put me on guard duty with him because he had a lovely girlfriend back in Philadelphia, and he wasn't any good at penmanship and that, and I could type, so I would type his love letters for him. So I didn't have to. I had easy guard duty, and I always had to flower up some girl I never knew, but John really loved her. I could tell by my letters. So that was one of the things I remembered about John, and he got hit hardly off the boat and he was done with. But there's no way I could come here without stopping and pay my respects to my fellow ranger group.